Today I'll be sharing my story about how, well, the light came on and I stopped behaving like, well, a terrible customer service representative, a total amateur, and turned into a life insurance sales professional who stopped listening to the lies and the nonsense and instead would do anything to make sure that my prospect turns into my client whose family is protected. And guys, before we get started, if you'll hang around all the way until the end of this video, I'm gonna show you how to get a copy of the free new agent kit. And this thing has some really nice life insurance and final expense sales materials, perfect for your sales presentation. And yes, this is what I'm gonna ask. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. We're putting out new final expense insurance sales training videos and content every week. We as life insurance agents absolutely must develop the skill set necessary to be able to simply overcome objections and be able to talk the clients out of making the same bad decision that they've been making like most of their lives, which in most cases, guys, is to do nothing about something that they should have absolutely taken care of a long time ago and just ended up like procrastinating like year after year. What must happen is you either have your moment where you've had enough of the nonsense and you're tired of being jerked around, or you end up doing what you're already doing, taking the nonsense and accepting the lies, blaming the leads and blaming the clients, which in turn will keep getting you the same exact results that you've already been having. Not good. And guys, let's just be frank. If you're not currently earning a six-figure income at life insurance sales, what I'm about to share might change your life. The three things that must be done in every life insurance and/or final expense sales presentation is: 1, we have to create urgency. 2, you need to uncover the need for the insurance and get the prospect to admit that they need the insurance verbally. And 3, you got to push through their natural hesitation and excuses and objections and walk these folks through, what's going to happen if they don't apply for the insurance and buy today. Our prospects, the people that are filling out the forms about buying affordable burial insurance, and at least that is the exact verbiage on the ads that our agents have that we run, 100% know that they need to buy the insurance, and yet they have this attitude like, well, they know they need the insurance, but they just don't want you to sell it to them. They don't want to be sold. Meanwhile, that is exactly, of course, what needs to happen. If you don't sell them, they're not buying it until, well, it's too late, right? Around 10 years ago, when I was a Hartford agent, there was a point where I had started recording my presentations and I would listen to them and would make changes in the way my tone sounded and in exactly what I would say. I had gotten to the point to where I finally decided that enough was enough and I stopped getting upset when the client blew me off. And instead, I started doing what needed to be done to help these people. You see, the problem wasn't the client. The problem wasn't the leads. The problem, well, it was what I see in the mirror every day. Just like most of you are doing right now, without even realizing it, I was getting in the way and literally blocking the sale by just being lazy. Now, hang on a second, bear with me here. Even though I'd already gotten to the point where, I was selling like 1 out of 3 of my presentations, my boss, my manager at the time, would pretty much make me talk about the 2 of the 3 that I didn't sell every single day. And it was an interesting environment because the attitude they had in the office was like they just didn't understand how I was allowing those other 2 potential sales, those other 2 presentations to escape. You know what? They were right. Again, I wasn't just allowing the other 2 to get away. I was blocking those sales from happening, like getting in my own way. And that's exactly what some of you guys are doing too. One of the key things that we teach at my insurance agency is proper sales technique. And that's why our top producers close right around 45% of their presentations. Yeah, believe it or not. The story I'm about to share with you is about the very first time that I took someone who was giving me objections and I turned them into one of my best clients. Okay, so by this time I had already been selling insurance for at least a couple of months, and I started making drastic changes. I started listening to my recordings, and I started hearing things I was doing wrong and fixing them. And I literally, within like a couple of weeks, went from being probably the worst agent at the agency to being like, I want to say above average. You know, I wasn't the top, but I was better than the middle, we'll put it that way. And so I was working on myself, and what I remember was, like, on a Friday, I had made a presentation and they gave me an objection to overcome, and I did a terrible job at it, and, you know, I left without anything. And again, you know, Monday morning I went into the office and the boss is like, why are you letting these people off the hook? Why aren't you fighting for these people? And so I decided at that point I wasn't going to take any more nonsense. Enough was enough. And my next presentation was a young couple with a baby, and they wanted a mortgage protection life insurance policy, or at least I shouldn't say they wanted it. They wanted me to give them a quote for that. And so while I'm making the presentation, at least, I want to say, it had to be at least twice, the wife said, you know, he doesn't buy anything when he first meets people. And like, they made it clear that they think about it, they have to process it first. And so they had already started that early. So by the time I went to the close and the guy gave me the first objection, I remember that was the first time that I decided I am not leaving this house unless they either throw me out or write me a check. And so I remember arguing with him a little bit about why he was hesitating. And at one point he gave me like a second objection. You know, he started with, we got to think about it, and then ended up with, we never do anything when we first meet people. And I remember after the second objection, I kind of threw him under the bus. You know, I started talking about the baby and being secure in his family, and I realized how important his family was to him. But the way I threw him under the bus was I kind of just had nothing to lose. So I remember saying something like, listen, you do realize, buddy, when I leave here, your wife is going to think, does he really love me enough to actually get this insurance and protect our family, or does he just love me enough to put on a show? And I said that, and of course, you know, that may not have been what she would have thought when I left, but now that I said it, that was absolutely it. So the bottom line was, I kept going. This went on for at least 30 or 45 minutes, until at the end, she was saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe he did that. He never does this. You know, he signed and handed me the check. So guys, my point is, it's a certain point, you've got to come to the conclusion that enough is enough. If you're an insurance agent right now, one of two things is going to happen after you watch this video. You're either going to allow the prospects to waste your time, or you're going to step up and stop listening to the nonsense and do your actual job, which is to do the work necessary to become a master at your trade. You must talk every prospect through the bad decision that they've been making their entire life and help them to change that now and do the right thing for their family today. Guys, these people need you to step up and help them. Left to their own, in most cases, they have been, and I'm talking about the final expense crowd, they have been making bad decisions their entire lives. You have an opportunity to change all of that right now. And here are 3 things for you to think about. 1, have you had enough of the nonsense? 2, are you tired of allowing these poor people to get off the hook and not do the right thing? 3, are you ready to step up and be better than you were before this video and not only help these people to do the right thing, but to do something that can actually change your life too? I'll never forget something that I had heard at an insurance agency sales presentation thing. You know, the speaker said something like, if you're in the United States today and you're not earning a 6-figure income each year, that's like going to a grocery store only to end up dying from starvation. For a copy of the free New Agent Kit that I mentioned earlier, just email me at doug@ufesonline.com. for more information on learning how to sell final expense insurance at an extremely high level. Just shoot me an email at that same address. Remember, guys, when you put the needs of your clients first, everything else will usually fall right into place. Now, get on that phone or get out into the field and do something good for someone today. Happy hunting.